Good morning, Tony Dottino here on a Monday morning starting the new week and the first week of March. And Karen Pinson, happy birthday to you and many more to come. Karen, we'd be lost without her at the USA Memory Championship. She just does all the organizing, the mental athlete applications, the filings, answering all the questions. And it's a birthday day for her today. So any of you that are Karen Pinson fans, please extend your wishes to her for a happy birthday. And today then talks about focus. So I remember, today is her birthday, and tomorrow is Michael Dottino's birthday. So we've got a couple of birthdays to focus on in the next 2 days. So talking about focus, in today's world with iPhones and social media and television and all of the different TikToks and distractions that we've got, it is pretty tough to stay focused on something and not be diverted into several other activities or several other points of, I want to tell you this, or the kids want to talk to you, or the spouse wants to talk to you, or somebody's calling you. So the first thing you have to realize, and boy, this was tough when I first came to see this over and over again, is what we call multitasking. Especially if a task is requiring significant concentration. The last thing you want to be doing is multitasking and doing one thing versus another thing versus the phone rings versus the doorbell versus your shopping, whatever it is, you're driving, how many accidents happen when people lose their focus and maybe they're working on a project or they're trying to get something accomplished and you get diverted. Something else pulls you aside, and that happens to me at times when I'm being asked to do something and I'm focused on getting something done. Somebody raises a question and off you go. And so multitasking is one of those things I got to watch in an emergency room and work I was doing for a hospital, and got to work in the emergency room for a number of months, and just would watch how the doctors would handle these codes that would come in and how they needed to stay focused on a particular patient. And the rules are you could not interrupt the doctor while he was trying to save a person's life. They needed to stay totally focused. In this notion of multitasking, well, I've got to do this, I've got to, no, because what happens to the brain is you lose your ability to concentrate on something that's significant, and therefore it diverts your maximum creativity, your maximum problem-solving abilities. It starts to break your brain. Now, there are still people that think they can multitask. The question in the science has basically said multitasking diverts attention from the primary, and therefore you might do two things wrong instead of one thing extremely well. What about our phones? God, my goodness, our phones are with us all the time. I think it's almost like an addiction. Can anybody leave the house for an hour, maybe go out for a run, a walk, go out and meet somebody and not have their cell phones with them? And I know I try that every once in a while. I just, you know what, I'm going to go out for a drive. I'm going to church on Saturday evening, and I'm going to leave my cell phone home. It's like, can't you do that? Electronic devices are distractions to us. And you get a beep, right? And if you're in church and you feel a vibration in your pocket, it's like, can you wait till another half hour before you look at who's texting you or who's calling you? Or is that going to be so obsessive that you've got to know, like, in that minute? There's an emergency that's taking place. They'll figure out how to get you. People will figure out how to find you. They'll figure out how to focus your attention. So smartphones and social media devices clearly distract us from what we're doing. Kids doing homework on a laptop, maybe. All of a sudden, Facebook comes in or YouTube, something comes in. And, it's a TikTok, it's a Meta. I'm losing track with all these different social media things. But the point of it is they come in and they take you away. Can you visualize and verbalize something you're trying to say? I know I've learned something very simple. I swim now 3 days a week. I go to the LA Fitness Center, get into that pool, and I want to do a third of a mile every time I swim. So at the end of a week, a third, I've added up what? 3/3 equal 1 mile. So that's what my goal is every week, and I have to count the laps, right? How many laps does it take to do a third of a mile? Well, I know that answer, but then as I start doing my laps, do I focus on how my laps I have? So I visualize myself obviously going, but I verbalize. People say sometimes, swimming, are you trying to talk to me? No, I'm verbalizing and counting and making up a little bit of a story. I've got lap 1, it is finished. Okay, I've begun my journey. Okay, I go back to the other side. And now I'm finished with lap 2. It's time for me to enter and begin the progress of lap 3. And I go through that mental, verbal. I'm not trying to scream out in the swimming pool, but I'm trying to verbalize exactly what lap I'm on. So I remember that I've got to do 24, 26 laps, 26 laps in order to get to my third of a mile. And that's just a little technique I use so that if I didn't do that, I'm thinking, I'm on lap 12. Did I count lap 12 or do I have to go back and redo lap 12? There are times in the summer when I swim in the community pool that I'll swim for a half a mile. And once a year, I swim for a whole mile. Well, a whole mile takes me 66 laps. Well, Jesus, I got to remember 66. So I am making up stories of people I see, or things I see in the sky, or how many planes are in the sky, or how many stars can I count. And each lap I go, I just make up a bit of a story. So I'm able to retain what laps. So when I'm swimming 66 laps in a pool, I certainly do not want to lose count of, did I leave off at 30 or 28 or was it 40? So I'm making these visualist stories that help me to retain the information that I want, like how many laps have I done so far. Chunking information. One of the things I've learned in the USA Memory Championship is when we give people phone numbers, we used to give them numerical digits to remember, not phone numbers, but strings of numbers in 25 in a row. And now they break those digits up into chunks. They may break them up into chunks of 5, they may break them into chunks of 3, but they bring them into chunks. They don't try to remember 25, oh God, I got to remember 25 numbers. They break them up and tell little stories. And I always remember a student from Purdue University who was a swimmer, and she broke her swimming into stories of her timing in 4s. So she did it in 4s and timed her swimming lessons on what she was on and what the story was and where she was in the meet and how many meters. And so she just visualized the story of her swimming lessons to remember things of numbers and made up her little story as she went to do it. So breaking large pieces of information into little smaller pieces that you can then string together into a little quick story is amazing. And I've been able to get that up to 25 and then I stop. So I get these little stories. I can get to 25 numbers. Okay, my story's done. I can remember 25 digits in a row. Try to relate, a fifth tip here for you is try to relate new information to something you already know. We call that word association, the links and connections. So if you're thinking of a word that you want to, like focus, okay, and you want to remember how to stay focused, maybe you want to think of a Focus automobile, and you want to think of, oh, I see this Focus car driving down the road. I got to stay focused on something that I'm doing in the present moment. And so it's just another different way of saying, can I make an association? And we do this with names a lot. Right? You see somebody's, oh, I just saw a rose. I saw a rose. Okay, well, I can make an association to, I see a rose in my garden. I see Rose standing there picking the rose out of the garden. That must be Rose that I just saw. And so again, how we make these different associations, all these little skills and these little techniques that we use to help us to retain information that's important to us so that our memories are working at maximum capacity. And those are just a few of the tips that I wanted to share with you on a Monday morning as we get up and focus on our week and what are the things we need to do. And so the first thing I knew I needed to do this morning was attend 9 o'clock physical therapy appointment that I have. So I'm up and about, and I wanted to get my Live with Tony done, so I stayed focused getting this done so I can then go about getting myself ready for my 9 o'clock appointment. Have a great day, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday.